I'm Jack, the RC paraglider guy. You probably have seen online in RC-Paramodels, Paramotors, RC-Paramotors USA, or I do all that. I'm a big fan of RC Paramodels, and if you've looked at my YouTube videos, you know I'm a big fan of the Opale gear. I got a lot of gear, a couple different pilots, several different wings, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. What I want to talk about is the Max Pilot. I'm kind of wondering over the years, this guy's been available for a while. I think he was popular when the 1.8 hybrid came out. He came bundled with that hybrid in a motorized setup for a while, but he's a great soaring pilot. And I'm not sure how many people actually have the Max Pilot, but what I'm going to talk about is why I like Max. It's a nice, small, compact size AMA park flyer. Room for speed bar servos. The whole thing bundles up pretty small. I can fit it in my backpack, or it's real easy to put it in the boot of the car. Anyway, it's great fun. I've had a lot of fun with this guy since I started soaring. But what has happened is shortly after I started soaring, somewhere in there I crashed on concrete and it broke his right leg. And when I realized his leg is made of ceramic, there's a wire down the middle. It didn't fall off, but it was broken up near the speed bar servo. I got it home, took them apart, and super glued that leg, and kind of taped it up, got them all back together, put some nice decals on the outside, because the decals had kind of worn off or whatever. I had nice, bright Opale logos on the outside that I thought were kind of neat. All was good. I've had a lot of fun with this guy. A couple weeks ago, I was at Torrey Pines, met up with a friend. It was forecast for a great day, but it ended up not enough wind. So what we ended up doing, or at least I ended up doing, was I was practicing my launch poles with this guy, bring the wing overhead, and I would actually let it go down the slope. And I don't know if you're familiar with Torrey Pines, but there's a large grassy slope that leads down to the 360-foot cliff. Nobody was flying the cliff that day except for Max Marion. He took a speed wing and went down to the bottom. But we were all waiting for the breeze to pick up. And while waiting, and other people were in ground school practicing maybe getting the wing overhead once in a while, I decided I would try sort of speed soaring with my Max. And I would do that launch pole, and I'd let him go and see how far I could get him to go down the slope. It was pretty abusive. I felt bad, because he tumbled head over heels. I can't count how many times. And it broke his leg again. And I continued to just decide, hey, there's nothing else to do. I'm going to fix him later. I just kept going. So I threw that guy down the hill a load of times. He tumbled a lot. And what was interesting, when the wind picked up, I actually still managed to be one of 3 people that day who flew. Max Marion, an RC glider pilot who got in like 3 minutes of flight time, and I too got in like 3 or 4 minutes of time off the cliff before making it back for landing. I like this guy. What I'm going to do now is show you the things I did to modify his legs. I put in, instead of the little thin wire that just holds it together, I put in a much more thicker, flexible wire to allow his legs to flex at the knee. And so what I have now is my modified Max Pilot, who's able to cross his legs, right? Can put one foot up. It's just flexible at the joint. And the way I kind of cut it, it still sort of flexes, limited to how a knee would actually flex. But, I can move them around and put them where I want to put them. So it's a little more realistic, and more importantly, I think at this point, a little more durable. I know it's not going to break off now at the speed bar servo. So if he impacts the ground, it's just going to smack him, and it's going to absorb the impact, those cable tie kind of things. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk you through the set of photos that I created, where I show how I cleaned the guy up. I had to remove my stickers that I had on there. They had gotten a little dirty and gooey with all the heat and the handling over the past year or so. And so I removed them and had to clean it up. That was a big job. And then how I drilled out the knee, how I cut off the knee, drilled it out, inserted the twist ties, and how I got this guy set up back together. Anyway, stand by. I'm going to talk you through the set of photos. Okay, here's the stack of photos that I captured when I was prepping to rebuild my Max Pilot. And I'm actually just going to use a little photo viewer to show you the photos and then talk you through what I did along the way. And I think this Windows Photo Viewer is probably the better tool for showing you the photos. So here's my Max Pilot. I've had him for a couple years, and because of that, and all the tumbling he did recently. You can see, I'm going to zoom in here, you know, his head, I used to have Max up there, that got kind of knocked and chipped off as I tumbled a lot. His toes down there all scratched up. With time, the Opale logo here on his flight suit kind of faded and sort of peeled off. Here's some other mods that I did with time. This is just heat shrink tubing over the buckles that hold the wing on. So we're going to go through the photos. Here's another picture of him. Again, it just kind of shows what I had done previously and how beat up he had kind of gotten, where his toes are all scuffed up down there. There's another picture of him, not so great. Another picture of him. Here he is beside the wing. Here he is. Okay, so what I'm going to get down to is, what I wanted to show too is I put stickers on here made out of duct tape. So I actually just cut out a duct tape logo, and for a year or so this worked pretty good. It was a particularly hot day and I was handling the bag a lot. It kind of turned into goo and they slid a little on the goo, and so one of the things I did during this cleanup and repair was I peeled those off and then had to deal with the mess, but we'll get to that. So here we go. This is me. I'm starting to, first thing I do, I take off the arms, the left and right side, and let them drop down, pull down the harness, then remove the speed bar servos, which kind of fit through the bag and everything. In other words, you can't get him out of the seat unless you remove these speed bar servos. So I pop those off. And then at that point, you know, he's like ready to come out. And you can see I'm pulling all the stuff I've got in the bag out. Here's how I set up my weights. Notice this Velcro strap. I think I talked about that in a previous video, how I use Velcro to get the weights down into the bottom, and a tab like this to easily pull them back out. It's worked really well. Again, another picture of what happened to the glue. With a lot of heat and a lot of handling, it got a little ugly. Okay, next shot again, the bag. Oh, here's something that's sort of interesting. This is how I set up my receiver, and I use the same setup when motoring. Notice I got a receiver extension cable, or a servo extension cable here. This could go to the ESC, but in this case I plug in the receiver battery when soaring, but that could actually be plugged into the ESC at the same spot. So, and here's the receiver tucked in this foam core box. So there's foam core that goes along this way, all along the bottom under his legs, and comes back up this way, right? And I use that to separate the receiver, and we'll zoom in on the next picture to show you. There's me holding the foam core back down, and there's my receiver tucked in there with some Velcro. And I actually have those little whisker wires feeding through right there, right? And they come out the sides of the bag, and I actually just poked a little tiny hole in each side of the bag and pulled those receiver wires through. So there's the receiver, nice and clean, set up inside the bag, being separated by a foam core flap kind of thing to keep it separate from the battery or the ballast weights, right? Nice and neat. Everything goes through the hole. Okay, this was me in working with this. I was worried about, I was tempted to leave the receiver in the whole time. And so I actually put tape on the little antennas to keep them from pulling through the bag and then having to go through a slight hassle of, you know, poking a little hole and sending it out the side of the bag. So I put some tape on there. And again, that side too. This is the other side of the bag where I got a different logo. And you can see this is after about a year. And in particular, a hot day where I was handling this bag a lot as I threw the guy. So the stickers got a little trashed. There he is. He's out of the bag now. Okay, so I removed his arms completely, and we start getting him out of the flight bag that he's in. Here's how his legs are held on by a piece of, it's sort of a flexible plastic back here. I also realized that had come pulled out at one point on my friends, and so what I did was I reinforced it with duct tape. So I wrapped duct tape around it and then, you know, taped it back on there. But here you can sort of see the problem of what happened. This is where it broke, right at the servo. There's a close-up of that. So, and there's a wire, and the wire is actually like right here in mine. It isn't down the middle, but it held the leg on. But you know, it's not meant to be something where you flex it, you know, but it does keep the pieces together. There's another picture of the broken leg. Okay, here's how everything attaches in back. There's some screws. So I'm going to undo the screws and pull them off. So there he is. He's removed from the legs. Separate the top half, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on those legs. There they are, still attached to the rubber flap, kind of, that's his back. I'm going to take that apart. Okay, there are each of the 2 legs and the screws that hold it on. This is where I repaired it previously. You know, I even took a black magic marker and covered up some of the glue stuff I put on there. Oh, I would also mention that my servos were held on there by Gorilla Tape. So there's a double-sided Gorilla Tape that I put on the base of this, and then the servos stick to that, and they're wedged in between there. It's held up really well. There's that broken leg. 2 broken legs as, you know, I'm looking at things, getting ready to repair it. There's the serious tool, because what I did first, before fixing the broken leg, I decided to fix the good leg. And so here's the hacksaw, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to saw it off straight right about here this way. And then I use a Dremel tool to sort of round the edges off. So there you go. That's after cutting it, drilling the holes, and actually inserting the flexible cable tie kind of thing, right? And so you can see this, I don't know if I completely rounded this off a little yet. They're both done in this picture. So we'll go to the next picture here. Let's see what I got. Hey, go to the next picture. Here we go. Okay, and so basically what I did was I drilled 2 holes on the top. And the cable tie runs this way and then curves down that way. And same thing on the back of his calf. I do something similar where the hole goes straight out this way, and then I sort of embed it in the back part of his calf. And I'll give you some more close-up pictures to show you what it's doing. There's a couple pictures here. And you can see this still has the Gorilla Tape on there. There's the Gorilla Tape. This is what I did with the back side of the calf. And so if I ever had to pull this out, I could literally just pull it out the top, straighten this out, and pull the whole thing apart and then put it back together. And I assume that when I hit real hard, this might come pulled up that way, or this could come out that way. It might break right at this one spot. I could actually slip this down and maybe put the broken spot somewhere up here where it didn't matter so much. But that's what I did to fix this part right there. And this is the original screw hole where that mat screws on. Again, sort of another close-up again. And I sanded some of this stuff down. This was the broken one. So this is after I glued it back together and inserted the flexible cable tie. Right? So this is the one I repaired. In fact, there's a smidgen of the original wire had come out the side. You can kind of see it there. But I glued all this stuff up with some really strong glue that held real well last time, except for, I tumbled a lot and it finally broke again. I think now that I have this flexible part in here, I don't think I'm going to have that problem. So here he is. I'm starting to put him back together, getting ready to glue the servos back down. Oops, there we go. Oh, but then I think I wanted to show the legs. What I also did then was decided, you know what, I'm going to tape up the legs. So if it does somehow get pulled out, I think this tape is also going to kind of help hold it a lot so that, they don't just drop off if something breaks or comes loose. The tape will also help hold it together. So I also taped that joint. And I've already started to colorize things. I tried to make it look like, oh, he's got socks on. So there's his legs repaired. We're going to put it back together. Now here's a whole nother story. I spent a couple hours trying to clean up this bag. I used hot water. I used compressed air, frozen, to get the glue off. The glue left a giant mess. But what ended up working great for getting the goo off was WD-40. And I literally sprayed it over the goo that was there and used like a butter knife to sort of scrape off the goo that the glue had become. And then after that, after the glue was all scraped off, then I washed it with hot soapy water. And so here it is, all cleaned up. I was just showing the can of WD-40 because I tried like 3 or 4 other things and spent a lot of time trying to get the glue residue off the bag. WD-40 worked great. In fact, I'll probably put new stickers on there. I just haven't done it yet. So here he is, all cleaned up. kind of ready to go. I think I kind of realized, hey, his logo on his flight suit wasn't so great. At some point, I cleaned up his logo with a paint marker. What this picture is showing is the fact that I have a foam core insert that I use in the bag. So this goes in along the sides here to about here, right? And it wraps around the front. And then this goes in between it on the inside all the way around and up the back. And so the receiver actually gets Velcroed right here. In this spot right here is the Velcro, and I fold this tape over it. And then what it leaves is a nice clean path to get batteries down to the bottom, or to put, you know, batteries down here, or the ballast down in the bottom and the battery right here. So the ballast goes down here, and the battery or more ballast can even be put up here. So I just laid this out to kind of give you an idea how that fits in there. And again, this goes in first, then this fits in between that, and goes all the way from here, wraps around to here, right? So that's what I wanted to show in that particular shot as I'm getting this guy back together. I also used, like I said, a paint marker and sort of redid the logo on his flight suit. So here we are. This is what I'm showing here is I actually have some kind of tiny tweezers, and I use these tweezers to reinsert the receiver antenna wires. And what I'm able to do is I would poke this tiny sharp tweezers through, and then I was able to just stick the wire right through the little hole that it leaves, like right up the middle, and grab it. These straps are here. You don't need this for soaring, but I put these straps through the base of the seat over here, or not, you know, the base of his seat pan where his butt is, to hold him in place when I put him in the motorized chassis for the small motorized chassis that I have. That worked out really good. And so I reinsert those through some cuts in the bag. So here he is. I'm getting him back together. His arms aren't on yet, but you can see this is where those elastic straps go. Those hold him in the motored chassis. There's the speed bar servo poking through. Another shot. There we go. Kind of got his arms in place. I haven't set him up yet with the wing at this point. I'm kind of showing here, and look at that. I can cross the guy's legs. That's kind of cool. Again, another shot of him. Another shot. And again, you know, the fact that his legs are flexible now is something new. And the speed bar is set back up. Here he is, ready to go again. Okay, there he is, arms up. Yay, he's getting back together. Couple more shots of the arms up. He's set up, you know, things are bolted on. What I wanted to show here on this one is I cut a slot in the base of the seat to squeeze these elastic pieces through, and I poked a tiny hole with the tweezers right here to be able to get the antenna wire out the side. Now the thing is about this slot and these straps, these aren't needed for soaring, but I have the Opale small motorized frame. And so these elastic straps allow me to strap him back into the small motorized frame. That was the whole purpose for those. There's another shot of that. Here he is with the radio set up. I got max soar for him. He's good to go. It supports speed bar and all that. There he is, sitting with the bag, getting ready to attach the wing and get things together. Oh, I wanted to show one more time that I, you know, rebuilt where the receiver goes, you know, cleaned it up and had to put the receiver back in. So there's the servo extension right there. Here's that foam core and a little flap that folds over with the receiver sandwiched in here. And here's a receiver battery. The whole purpose of that foam core box, though, is to allow you to use that open space nice and clean to slide the ballast weights down to the bottom of the bag down here, and then I put the receiver battery in the back over here, or when I'm motoring I have the smaller weights that feed under the seat, and then I use a big battery in the backpack back here. So there's another close-up again of the receiver kind of tucked up in there, strapped in with Velcro, set up and ready to go. How I fold a piece of tape kind of over that, you know, keeps it out of the way and clean. There he is. Yeah, the wing is now attached. I tend to hang him from the straps before tying the brakes. So I have the weight in there and everything, and I hold it up from the straps, and then that allows me to see how I need to adjust my brake lines. So there he is, really ready to go out flying. And so the next thing I'm going to show you, and I'm going to finish up with, is a small clip of me launching and him flying back and forth, all reconfigured and ready to go. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again online soon. Okay, here we are at Palisades Park. A nice little launch into the breeze, and away we go. It's kind of like a new maiden because the thing has just been all reset up, the line's all retied, all that. I actually ended up flying for like, you know, I think like 10 minutes, something like that this day, but I'm just going to show a couple quick flybys that are a little fun and show that last little catch. There were a handful of people up at the top of the hill also recording videos as I flew by. It's kind of neat to see. It's always fun to see and talk to the people about the paraglider. There's always a lot of people who have questions. So there it is, close by, right into the sun. One more flyby, and now I've already been flying for a little while. I'm going to come in for a nice catch recovery here in a second. There we go. That worked out pretty good with a lot of fun.